Hey guys, and welcome back to Browney's Garage. Bit of a mixed day today as we say goodbye to my old friend and daily, the panel van, and welcome something new into the garage. Should be a nice quick episode then. Let's start her up and maybe we'll go for a quick drive. What do you reckon? That's quite a few warning lights. So yep, I bought a broken car as my new daily. Maybe we'll hold off on that drive for now, eh? So here it is, what will hopefully be my new daily that we picked up for a good deal. This is a 2010 base model Commodore VE that's on dual fuel. Overall, it's in fairly good condition, and this is exactly how we picked it up. It hasn't even been washed yet. The body isn't perfect, but it's more than passable for what we need, and the interior is all there, but it is in need of good detail. It has the 3.6 litre Alloytec V6 and 4-speed auto. Nothing too exciting there, but once we address the few issues we have, should hopefully be pretty reliable, but also be capable of doing some light towing when we need to. The biggest bonus we have, however, is that we know the previous owner and who's worked on the car most recently. And while it does need some work, we know nothing has been hidden and bought it knowing full well that we had some issues to address. And whilst the car may be showing more random messages than the trailers before a movie, I've done some quick research and don't think any of these will be terribly expensive to address. Let's pull it into the garage and dive a little bit deeper into it, shall we? Now, to be clear, before I start working on this, I haven't actually worked on one of these cars before, but I have had some good tips and pointers from a few people close to me, so I'm learning as I go on this as well. The plan initially is to make sure that it's running and driving fine mechanically, so we'll be looking into the engine issues or the engine light issues to try and see if we can work those out. Who needs those safety features anyway, right? So what we've got here is just a engine code scanner or a scan tool type deal. It's from Autel, just a mid-range unit. And I'll flash the codes up on the screen now that this tool's been able to pull out of the computer. Sorry about the quality of the pictures there, that's from my phone camera. I never got it on camera, unfortunately. There are a few codes there, hopefully you can see those. The ones we'll be concerned with initially relate to the engine coolant temperature and the sensor on that, as well as the misfire in cylinder 1 and 2 and a random misfire issue there. Now, relating to that overheating, I am aware that it had an overheating issue, and we've gone ahead and picked up a thermostat kit for this car. From my reading, they're a fairly common issue. That combined with the fact that the car was overheating on the gauge, but there was no hot air coming out of the air vents when the heater was on, and the gas, it wasn't running on gas as far as I was aware. In saying that, I have spoken to my brother since getting this. He's a bit of a gun on these engines, and he says that at times they have some trouble bleeding air out of the cooling system that can lead to some dramas. So anything to avoid doing that thermostat really, it's a horrible looking job. So we're going to give that a go. We're going to push this car, push it back out the garage, and we'll have a go at bleeding the cooling system and see if that helps at all. So this is really worth a shot because it is a free option. And as I said, I really don't want to have to replace that thermostat if I don't have to. It's buried all the way down in the back here. If you've ever done it, you'll know the pain. So I'll just be using regular water for this at the moment. I don't want to waste any coolant. If this does work, then we'll have to look at replacing that and filling it up with coolant. But for now, we'll pop this cap off here so that the system can bleed. We'll make sure we keep it topped up with water. We'll then go start the car, get the car running, make sure the heater's turned all the way up, and we'll let the car run, get up to operating temperature, give it a rev here or there, and just try and bleed all the air out of that system if there is any. So we'll fire up and give that a go. So, I'd like to say this was my idea, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I think I stole that one from my brother as well. No fancy funnels or anything here. This is what I had. So this is a Coke bottle. We'll cut the bottom off it and just jammed it into that filler neck there. Could have used some tape around the opening of it. Just hold on to that to give it a better seal. But despite what it just did, it seems to have been working up until now. So that's just bringing our highest point in the cooling system to make sure it's here. That'll help to bleed any of the air out if there's any air anywhere else in the system. So it's been running now for at least 15 or 20 minutes. We've got a lot of air bubbles come up through here, and I've topped it up a little bit. Doesn't seem to show any signs of overheating now. It's sitting right around the level I would expect. Might take it for a drive around the block and we'll see how it goes. I'm back. I've been out for a maybe 15-minute drive, been beating on this thing a little bit. Got some good news to report. Temperature issue looks fine. It's not overheating at all in that drive. I've kept an eye on it on my little scan tool here and there. Seems to be in between 90 and up to 105 degrees, something like that by the scan tool. Under half on the gauge, and then it just drops back down. It seems to be controlling it just fine. I've idled here for 5 or 10 minutes as well, and it's not a problem. So we might have just got lucky and solved that engine coolant temperature issue. I didn't mention earlier, but it was showing as full on the dipstick for the coolant as well, so it wasn't just empty. It looked like it was a air issue in the coolant system. Now, while I was sitting here, I was also playing on the scan tool, and it looks like, I'll show you there, the cord isn't quite long enough, and the camera's not liking that anyway. But we're back to only having engine coolant codes in the stored section. Pending codes, we no longer have any misfire codes. Now, I'm thinking perhaps that's because the engine's warm. It doesn't have those misfire codes. We got lucky solving one issue with that air in the coolant system potentially. I really doubt we'll have solved two, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly clear all the codes on this and try and get this engine warning message off the dash, and we'll just see. I'm going to drive this a little bit more today, and I'll probably come back tomorrow morning, fire it up when it's nice and cool, and we'll see if that misfire code comes back at all. Happy day though, I'm really wrapped with that. Might be called for a beer. Success, guys! I've been driving this car for a few days now, put a few kilometers on it, and that cooling issue looks like it's all but sorted for free. We really got lucky there. Now, I'm not sure how that cooling issue initially started, so we will be keeping an eye on the coolant levels and making sure it doesn't come back. But for now, I'm just going to top it up with a bit of actual coolant because it's just water in there. I'm going to call that job done. As I mentioned as well, before we went on that first drive, I did clear all the codes I could, so those misfire codes I cleared out of the computer, and they didn't come back, at least initially anyway. I got about halfway down the highway. That's pretty much all highway from here where I was heading, and it was fine, not a problem. First set of traffic lights we pulled up at, it started missing a little bit again. It's clearing up when we drive it, but it does have a bit of an issue there still somewhere, so we're going to have a look at that. Looking at the footage we've got on this at the moment, this video is looking at least 10 minutes long, so I think what we're going to do is we might break this up into a few parts. So next up we'll address that misfire and any other engine issues we have, and maybe we'll move on to some of those safety things as well. I guess we probably should at least look at those. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, consider giving us a like and subscribing. It helps us a lot here. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.
Coming soon to a car near you. Check engine light.